deflected by Rubio. 2 seconds left. KD to end the half. Good!
What if you combine the two greatest shooters and shot makers of the modern era on one team? Well, you're going to end up giving the entire NBA a huge problem. That's what happened when the Golden State Warriors made the impossible possible by signing Kevin Durant in 2016 and allowing him to team up with the greatest shooter in the history of the game. In no time at all, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant gave the league problems. And there are levels to the kind of headache they gave to everyone else in the NBA, especially when you look at the individual greatness of both these players. First off, let's look at Kevin Durant. Listed as a 6'9" guard in college, Kevin Durant was an unstoppable scoring force. It was illegal for someone his height and length to be able to handle the ball like a point guard and create shots like a shooting guard. After averaging 26 points and 11 rebounds with Texas, he was truly a problem no college team could solve. So, when he decided to take his talents to the NBA, he was chosen second overall by the Seattle Supersonics. The first pick was Greg Oden, only because he was supposed to be the next coming of Shaquille O'Neal before injuries turned him into an afterthought. But in any other draft class, KD would have been the consensus first overall pick by a mile. And he proved his immense talent by turning himself into a scoring machine in no time at all, putting up 20 points a night as a rookie and winning the Rookie of the Year award. The scary part was he was still growing. While Durant entered the league as a skinny twig, it didn't matter a lot because he played small forward as a tall and lanky scorer who ended up growing at least 2 more inches.
Defense by Delonte West, and here comes Kevin Durant.
Now you got the advantage here now. Green gives him a lane to come to the cup for 2.
Sources would often clash with each other, but while he was eventually listed at 6'11", Durant is likely a true 7-footer. Yes, he turned into a 7-foot small forward capable of doing things guards should only be doing. That's how scary he was. And by his third season in the league, he was winning scoring championships and averaging 30 points. Durant went on to win a total of 4 scoring championships, all while doing it on a very efficient level. He never had to average 20 shots a night every season because he could drain his shots and score at an elite level without chucking bad shot after bad shot. Durant knew how to hunt for good shots and make all his attempts look effortless, especially for a 7-footer capable of shooting over outstretched arms without being bothered. His silky smooth stroke, elite handles, and otherworldly shot creation abilities allowed him to win the MVP in 2014. 2 years later, he had a chance to make it to the NBA Finals a second time. However, he and the Oklahoma City Thunder fumbled a 3-1 series lead over the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. That loss to the Warriors in 2016 was the final straw for KD. Winning scoring titles and an MVP is great, but for a basketball purist like him, winning a title is all that matters for his legacy. He is arguably the greatest pure scorer the league has ever seen because he can make shots from any angle and from any spot on the floor as a 7-footer. But no one would take him seriously if he never won a title. This leads us back to the Golden State Warriors.
Curry, quick release, got it!
In 2016, the Warriors were playing peak basketball. They won 73 games, a regular season record, to become the greatest team in NBA regular season history. Of course, the engine that drove that success was a skinny point guard barely standing 6'3". Stephen Curry had transformed the league into what it is now. During his early years, Curry was kind of a renegade during a time when point guards were taking over the league. The best guards were either athletic or incredibly crafty. You had guys like Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, and John Wall outrunning and dunking on the heads of everyone in the league. Meanwhile, Kyrie Irving's sneaky speed and athleticism allowed him to score in the shiftiest and craftiest ways possible. Then there was Curry, a point guard who built his name on his ability to make three-point shots in college. Curry was neither athletic nor strong, but he did have that three-point stroke. That shot was all he needed to turn himself into the most exciting point guard in the NBA. While other point guards were either dunking on centers or making great passes to teammates, Curry was losing his defender 30 feet from the basket before pulling up for a three-pointer. Though ankle injuries almost derailed his career, Curry eventually transformed into an elite point guard capable of leading a team to the best record in the league.
He causes that turnover. Steph Curry. And got himself free with a dribble, hits the three.
Well, it also helped that the Warriors had the right system and personnel that unlocked Curry's ability to create shots, But the consensus is that the Warriors' system of ball movement and spacing only worked because they had the greatest off-ball mover and floor spacer in the history of the league. So, in 2015, Curry won his first MVP and first championship. A year later, he led the Warriors to the best record in the history of the league while becoming the first and only unanimous MVP winner in the NBA, averaging over 30 points as an undersized point guard. Yet, for all the accomplishments he and the Warriors racked up in 2016, they could not win the one that mattered, the 2016 championship. They squandered a 3-1 series lead over the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals to lose the championship to LeBron James. That was when the infamous parking lot phone call between Draymond Green and Kevin Durant happened, leading to a surprising 2016 free agency. With Kevin Durant becoming a free agent in 2016 and the league's salary cap booming, the Warriors were in a good position to sign the 7-foot shot creator. Indeed, they succeeded in that regard, having to sacrifice only Harrison Barnes to open up enough room for Durant's salary.
Moves against Crawford. 1 second left. He fires up.
And with Curry previously signing on a moderately modest long-term contract because of his earlier struggles with injuries, the Warriors' salary cap allowed them to accommodate 2 legitimate top 5 talents in the league. The NBA was not ready for the greatest super team to ever play the game. The fit was unfair. Curry bent the floor the moment he crossed half court. Durant bent it from everywhere else. Put them in the same action, and defensive rules caved in. Switch, and Curry hunted bigs in space while Durant went to work on anyone who dared to pick him up. Drop, and Curry walked into rhythm threes while Durant rose from the mid-post with a hand in his face that did not matter. Trap, and Draymond Green short-rolled into 4-on-3 with Klay Thompson waiting for clean catch-and-shoot looks. There was no right answer for opponents, only a choice in how they wanted to lose. Training camp showed the nightmare right away. Golden State had been a motion machine that sliced teams with pace, split cuts, and back screens. Durant added a release valve that no system could scheme away. When ball movement stalled, he turned a late clock possession into 2 points. When defenses loaded up on Durant, Curry's off-ball gravity tore holes through the paint. One possession you were chasing Curry through screens. The next, you watched Durant dribble into a calm pull-up over perfect defense. Every scout knew what was coming. It still did not help. The small lineup grew from a dangerous changeup into an inevitable finisher. Curry, Thompson, Iguodala, Durant, Green. 5 players who could pass, dribble, and shoot. 5 defenders who could switch across positions. The floor spacing was ruthless. The speed of their reads punished any hesitation. Coaches saved timeouts for the third quarter because a 2-minute flurry was coming. A 10-point lead for the opponent could flip to a 10-point deficit before you could scribble an adjustment. The 2017 season was the proof of concept that turned into a steamroll.
Oh, he puts it in!
Golden State won at a historic clip in the playoffs and dropped only 1 game. Durant took the alpha matchups without breaking rhythm. He closed Game 3 in Cleveland with a walk-up 3 that felt like the moment the era shifted for good. Curry shredded traps and created a runway for everyone else. The team defended at a level that erased the soft label attached to jump shooting teams. Length at the wings, green quarterbacking, guards fighting over screens. Even a good shot felt rushed. Durant picked up Finals MVP, but Curry did not care. His gravity fed the machine. Durant's precision finished the meal. Thompson guarded elite guards all spring and still found time to rain corner threes. Iguodala set screens that turned into slips, then into dunks, then into panic. The ball pinged until a rotation failed. The failure came sooner than most thought possible. Then 2018 was harder. Curry missed time, the rhythm wobbled, and the West took its big swing through Houston. The Rockets built a roster with switchable wings and told every defender to stand in a stance and switch everything. Switch on Curry, switch on Durant, and switch on Green. The goal was to limit passes and erase the split-cut joy that made the Warriors sing. It worked long enough to push a classic series to 7. Then the Rockets went ice cold from deep, Chris Paul sat out hurt, and Durant and Curry finished the job. Cleveland returned in June, only to run into the same wall at a higher speed. The Warriors looked unbeatable because their stars covered every weakness the other might show. Curry did not need to press late in games because Durant could manufacture the exact shot quality required. Durant did not need to force the issue early because Curry's movement created open warps across the floor that made every first quarter feel easy.
Curry and Durant. Curry throws it up. Durant throws it down.
Curry's lack of size on defense found cover through team concepts and Green's help. Durant's occasional drift on the glass got erased by the fact that teams rarely reached the rim in rhythm. Add Thompson's two-way steadiness, and the math was cruel. Most teams needed to be perfect just to keep pace, and then perfect again when the flurry hit. Every opponent entered with a plan. They wanted to top-lock Curry off ball, make Durant pass out of bodies, and limit transition. They went into games to crash selectively and hunt mismatches on the other end to force fatigue. The problem was that every choice swung open another door. Top lock Curry and he would back cut, or Green flipped the angle and turned your denial into a layup. Send two to Durant and he swung the ball once, twice, 3 times until Thompson was alone on the weak side. Sit on shooters and Sean Livingston walked to the dotted line for an 8-foot fade that felt automatic. There was no rope to grab in the flood. Coaches kept trying different strategies. Zone looks to clog the arc, early switches to slow down the chaos before it started, and off-ball switches that try to anticipate the split cuts at the elbow. Golden State answered by tilting into pick and roll more often, then going back to motion exactly when the defense expected another high screen. They could win by playing fast or slow. They could smash you with third chance threes after offensive boards or slice you with a single perfect back screen. Durant and Curry were the headline, yet the structure that held them in place made the picture impossible to defend. The human part of the story mattered too. Durant joined a champion and still had to prove something every night. Curry handed in the keys whenever the moment demanded a clear lane. That trust kept the offense from fighting itself. There was no tug of war over who took the big shot.
Lost it off his foot. Oh, just did prevent the backcourt violation and shoots the three.
If a defense showed high at Curry, he fed Durant and cleared space. If a defense shaded to Durant, Curry pressed the gas with quick pull-ups and slipped screens that felt like theft. Ego did not bleed onto the court. Winning did. Teams chased answers through personnel. Tall wings became the most coveted players in the league. Lineups full of 6'7" athletes who could guard in space and hit corner threes became the trend, all built with Golden State in mind. The switch everything playbook moved from wrinkle to primary scheme. Big men who could not move their feet watched their minutes shrink in May. Shooters who could not hold up on a switch struggled to see the floor. Rockets and Celtics stockpiled rangy wings. LeBron reshaped rosters. The ripple effect was everywhere. Then the 2019 season cracked the armor through injuries. Durant strained his calf against Houston, and Golden State still closed that series with Curry detonating after halftime of the closeout. They swept Portland with Curry playing vintage off-ball cat and mouse while Green pushed tempo and found shooters. The finals brought Kawhi and a long, disciplined Toronto group that switched while still holding the paint. Durant came back for a brief burst of brilliance, then ruptured his Achilles.
Here's Durant. 10 seconds. Goes to the corner to shoot a three and hits to tie it.
Thompson fought through and then tore his knee late. Toronto took the title. The run ended not because the problem had been solved on a whiteboard, but because the pieces that made it unbearable broke at the worst time. Durant moved on that summer. The discourse leapt to legacies and pecking orders. People asked if Curry needed Durant or if Durant needed Curry. The tape kept telling a simpler story. Together, they formed an algebra no team could balance for 3 years. Curry's weak side lift caused double teams to second guess. Durant's mid-post catch forced single coverage to look foolish. Traps on one led to clean looks for the other. Their combined free throw reliability closed games without drama. The ways to fail against them outnumbered the ways to survive. Defenders talked about the mental drain. Pick up high on Curry and you were already late. Sag off Durant on the wing and you were already done. Every possession felt like a test. When teams guessed, the Warriors punished. When teams read correctly, Durant simply shot over the top with a release that did not care how close a contest looked. The best defense sometimes loses to the perfect offense. Even their off nights were a problem. If Curry missed 8 straight, you still had to chase him because the 9th might start a run. If Durant looked quiet for 3 quarters, he could hang 12 points in 3 minutes on 3 dribbles. The pressure never erased. A 10-point cushion in the first half was false safety. A close game late tilted toward 2 superstars who took care of the ball and made free throws. Margins that favored ordinary contenders did not exist here. Coaches mining for answers learned the pick-a-poison-themed approach. Take away 3s and live with contested 2s. Switch everything and hope fatigue over a series shaved a few points from efficiency. Crash the glass only when the ball handler was not Curry, because runouts were death. Use length on Curry to disturb the release, then bring help early on Durant to make him feel bodies. None of it solved the core issue. One superstar bent the rules, but 2 superstars who complemented each other reshaped them. The ripple effects still linger today when teams prize shooting at every spot. Stars are asked to function off-ball, not only dominate when the ball is in hand. Big men learn to screen and short roll like guards. Wings practice passing on the move because late rotations are the only chance to bother actions born from spacing that wide. Defenses drill 2 to the ball and fast peel switches. Offenses prepare counters that look suspiciously like what Kerr's group ran during those years. The league adjusted to a storm by learning how to surf.
And we go, oh, I gotta do something else that I haven't done before. He makes this.
Those Warriors also changed the conversation about value. Finals MVP talk turned into a talking point every spring, even when the better question was who made the game easier for everyone else over 9 months. Curry's gravity was a stat you could not capture with a box score. Durant's ability to end possessions on his terms turned closeouts into routine. The 2 ideas together felt unstoppable. That was the problem for everyone else. It was not one skill. It was a collection of overlapping strengths that left nothing uncovered. Strip the story down and the core truth remains. Curry gave you panic with movement and speed of release. Durant gave you inevitability with size and touch. Place both inside an ecosystem that prized spacing, unselfishness, and quick decisions, then ask opponents to solve it 4 times in 7 tries. Most could not. Some came close. Nobody truly cracked it while the group was whole. This raises the uncomfortable thought that still lingers whenever people revisit that stretch and wonder what more might have followed if the clock had kept ticking on that version of the problem, and whether anyone ever would have found the equation that truly answered it. But one thing that was sure was that, when healthy, Curry and Durant gave the league an unsolvable problem that, even until now, no one could prove to be solvable.